The black mustached face gazed down from every commanding corner. There was one on the house front immediately opposite. Big Brother is watching you, the caption said, while the dark eyes looked deep into Winston's own. This sentence comes from one of the most famous books of the 20th century, George Orwell's 1984, a dystopian science fiction novel set in London. Currently, 1984 is what we think of as the past. But this was not the case when the book was written. Orwell wrote this book in 1948, 36 years before the novel's title date. Big Brother is a mysterious figure that no one has ever met who rules society and constantly keeps an eye on the lives of its citizens, using specialized telescreens. In this world where freedom has been completely abolished and writing forbidden, the novel's protagonist, Winston Smith, decides to rebel and starts to write a diary. If Big Brother found out, Winston would be taken into custody, tortured, and suppressed. Despite belonging to the Outside Party, the political organization that collaborates with Big Brother by falsifying documents in favor of the government, Winston chooses to do anything to overthrow society, and thus begins to investigate the past to better understand his adversary. Winston now starts arguing with some individuals who support his position and will guide him in the right direction. The first one is Julia, described as a bold-looking girl of about 27, with thick hair, a freckled face, and sweet athletic movements, and who, like Winston, works in the Outside Party. A romance develops quickly between Julia and Winston, which they will try to keep hidden. They will join the Brotherhood, a covert organization dedicated to destroying Big Brother. A man named O'Brien, whom Winston believes is a member of the Brotherhood, but who turns out to be one of the system's leaders, will contact them. He will be the one to hand Julia and Winston over to the Psychopolice. Julia and Winston will betray each other after enduring physical and psychological torture. The regime will win when, after extensive brainwashing, the true fall and are resubjugated. The novel's final sentence fully describes Winston's transformation. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother. The city of London is described as being in total decay. The countryside, described as a living and open place, and Winston and Julia's meeting room stand out as the only locations not affected by the regime. This room is a cozy place where people can still maintain the privacy that telescreens have made impossible elsewhere. In Big Brother society, people speak Neo language, a language in which everything is reduced to its essential. No one will ever be able to imagine a concept corresponding to freedom if all words related to freedom are deleted, because people cannot express it. And now for the book's most significant statement: ignorance is strength. But which are the messages that Orwell conveys to the reader? The most powerful is the increasingly pervasive presence of technology in man's life, to which he is in danger of becoming a slave. The book also has an anti-political tone, condemning the type of government that instrumentalizes individuals and denies men freedom of thoughts. 1984 is a British film written and directed by Michael Radford and based on the novel by George Orwell. The film focuses on the protagonist's endless oppression and constant state control. This story conveys a sense of uncertainty and confusion. This oppression is reflected in the use of sound. There are constant background noises and many voices from the telescreens. Important to remember is the close-up of the characters' faces to focus on their emotions. For example, the fear of being discovered and the use of dark colors. These elements create an atmosphere of anxiety and fright. The actors playing Winston Smith, John Hurt, and the cast are outstanding because they embody their suffering and systematic destruction, especially Winston and Julia. 1984 is not an easy film to watch, but it captivates even when one wants to turn away. Radford opts for a very faithful setting of the book, almost maniacal in many aspects. This aspect ties the film to the meta-historical moment that Orwell creates in his novels, which is why it appears somewhat dated, which is not the case with the book, which is always contiguous to the contemporary, if read from the right perspective. Free Raps, the real problem with the film is that it claims to be a slavish aesthetic representation, valid and of very high quality, but it is destined to be transient and temporally limited. Rereading Orwell's work day after day, it remains current and unchanged, not least because of its ability to adapt to context. The names of some ministries turns out to be changed. The Ministry of Production corresponded to the Orwellian Ministry of Abundance. The Ministry of Records, the place where Winston works, in the book has the name Ministry of Truth. Some scenes were cut for obvious cinematic reasons. For example, they couldn't go on for too long describing the text, theory and synthesis of oligarchical collectivism by Immanuel Goldstein, of which they show only a few pages and depict only the essence. Two passages, however, are innovative compared to the novel. The product or Radford's thoughts or suggestions is equally significant in the economy of the film. The first is the delivery of the Secret Resistance book written by Goldstein and then the meeting with O'Brien. In Orwell's 1984, the delivery of the book takes place in a square during a political meeting. In Radford's film, O'Brien personally gives the book to Winston after he has visited him. However, in the novel, Winston goes to O'Brien's house with Julia to meet him. Winston, on the other hand, in the film, goes alone to highlight Julia's ambiguity. The woman's dark personality will remain until the end. A final difference is in the ending, whereas Orwell depicts a completely depersonalized Winston after the torture. Radford's Winston has an unwitting hint of rebellion. It is the most evident sign of a changed world, the seed that Orwell hoped to plant in his black vision of the present and the future. The usual concerns about whether it is possible to adapt such a powerful book into a film remain. Whether the film adheres to the paperwork and how far the director can shake off such an important book. Michael Radford has kept much of the organic nature, personally rereading a few points. Radford did that for authenticity, which might have given way to other interpretations. As we said before, while this choice resulted in an excellent result, a reinterpretation of the book that is entirely dependent on the original one, and thus becomes a simple reading and translation into images, it also made the film tied to the aesthetic, which ends up getting old with time, losing the topicality that is the story's very strength. We don't know whether Radford was aware of this or not. We don't know, however, that a book like Orwell's is such a mythological monster to be confronted with that simply deciding to do so, with results that are still of a high standard, deserves appreciation.